The James Bond 007 franchise is arguably the greatest franchise in all of cinema. 25 canon films by Eon Productions, 2 non-canon films, and hours of amazing entertainment. In this video, I'm going to rank all 27 Bond films. Let me know if you agree with my choices. Number 27, 1967's Casino Royale.
Mr. Bond, I'm Lieutenant Mathis of the Special Police. These are my credentials.
They appear to be in order.
The first competing Bond film to be made outside of Eon Productions is a spectacle to behold. This movie is so bad that it really is awesome. And the behind-the-scenes story of how star Peter Sellers single-handedly derailed the production of this multi-million-dollar movie, turning it into an absolute train wreck. The story is utterly fascinating, and for me, it's much more interesting than the movie itself. This is a movie that is so odd and so nearly incomprehensible that you have to see it to believe it. And yet, it is indispensable viewing for any James Bond fan. But kudos to Woody Allen, who has some genuinely funny scenes.
What if I said I was pregnant? Could I have a last cigarette? I'm gonna give it up any day now. Thank you.
Apuntar! Fuego!
So long, suckers!
Apunto! Fuego!
Number 26, Diamonds Are Forever.
Who are you?
My name is Bond. James Bond.
Sean Connery returned for one more film, but seems bored and tired. By matching his high salary, the production team just didn't have enough money for the actual film. And despite a beautiful Bond girl in Jill St. John, Blofeld in drag, and memorable villains of Mr. Winton, Mr. Kidd, and Bambi and Thumper, everything about this movie looks cheap, like an episode of a TV show. And it's obvious that the production ran out of money for the climactic action sequence on the oil ring, to the point that it looks embarrassing. Still, this movie is a lot of fun.
Hi, I'm Plenty.
But of course you are.
Plenty O'Toole.
So if this is the worst out of the Eon movies, that's high praise for the entire franchise. Number 25, The Man with the Golden Gun. A fantastic villain in Christopher Lee's Scaramanga can't save this seemingly low-budget turkey. Cheap production values, amateurish martial arts, a convoluted plot, and a weak Bond girl in Mary Goodnight, Roger Moore makes a fantastic James Bond, but he kind of gets lost in this sloppy movie. This is certainly a low point for the 007 franchise, and at this point it looked like Roger Moore's stint as 007 may really have been in jeopardy. Number 24, Spectre. Following the brilliant Skyfall, Sam Mendes lays an egg with this film and creates a movie so bad that it actually goes back and ruins the other Daniel Craig Bond films. You know you're in trouble when your central premise, that Blofeld is Bond's long-lost brother, was done better by Austin Powers a decade earlier. And while this movie had great production values and amazing cinematography, I just can't help the feeling that everyone just gave up at the end and just phoned it in. Number 23, Quantum of Solace. This movie began with a great idea and a very well-meaning concept to continue Casino Royale, but got hampered by the Writers Guild strikes, leaving director Mark Forrester free rein to make unlimited changes to the screenplay. And what we're left is a messy story, chaotic action that is hard to follow, and a very non-threatening, lackluster villain. I sense a lot of potential was wasted with this movie. Number 22, A View to a Kill. Roger Moore felt that he was too old to play Bond, but Cubby Broccoli enticed him for one more film. And it turned out Roger Moore may have been right. His Bond was unconvincing doing any of the stunts, and there was no chemistry between James Bond and Stacey Sutton. But still, Christopher Walken and Grace Jones as the villains are so much fun, and they, along with some excellent action, obviously done by stunt doubles, prevent this movie from going off the rails. Number 21, Die Another Day. To celebrate the 40th anniversary of James Bond, director Lee Tamahori had 2 simple ideas. 1, crank the campy fun up to 11, and 2, take full advantage of CGI. And boy, did he ever. villains with electrifying power suits, North Koreans posing as Caucasians, a blue-skinned villain with diamonds in his face, and Halle Berry as a fellow super agent, an invisible car, and yes, Bond parasailing a tsunami. This film was a huge swing and kind of a miss. But it's a lot of fun and does have its fans, like me. Number 20, No Time to Die. Can the ending of a movie ruin an otherwise excellent film? No Time to Die proves that it absolutely can. A great story, a wonderful cast, amazing action, all leads to the death of our beloved 007. In fact, apparently, the ending of one movie can ruin an otherwise excellent franchise. And we get to my number 19 film, but I'm going to say with the next film, we cross into what I call the good films of the 007 franchise. And it's a testament to how great the James Bond franchise is, that incredible films like Dr. No and You Only Live Twice don't even crack the top 10. And I think that's high praise for the entire franchise. Number 19, Moonraker. Yes, James Bond went to space in 1979. He really went into space. Because in this film, you get lasers, you get space marines in zero gravity, you get Jaws getting a girlfriend and turning into a good guy. But what prevents this ridiculous premise from going off the rails is that the filmmakers and Roger Moore 100% commits and plays it straight. And we get one of the most fun and most rewatchable Bond films of the 1970s. Number 18, Never Say Never Again. Sean Connery returns in the second competing Non-Eon production James Bond film, and returning to the role after over a decade, he looks fantastic and even looks better than his last outing in Diamonds Are Forever. And while it is a modern remake of Thunderball, it has a great villain in Maximilian Largo, a fantastic femme fatale in Fatima Blush, beautiful Domino Patachi, and lots of fun action, and Sean Connery in peak form returning as 007. Number 17, The World Is Not Enough. And this underrated Pierce Brosnan gem has everything. It has one of the longest, most action-packed pre-credit action sequences, and it has a beautiful Bond girl in Sophie Marceau. Unfortunately, this movie gets a lot of flack for casting Denise Richards as a nuclear scientist, and sure, it's fashionable to make fun of her, but I suggest you watch it again and just have fun, and I attest that she's actually not that bad. And certainly doesn't ruin a fantastic Bond film. This movie is absolutely worth a second watch. Number 16, Dr. No. So you can't deny the historical significance of this absolute classic. James Bond, as we know him, was literally conceived out of thin air at this point in time, and you can credit one man, Sean Connery. From his cat-like walk to his lightning-fast right cross to the way he dangles a cigarette and says,
Bond. James Bond.
So many elements we will associate with the James Bond franchise are already here. From Bond himself, to the gun barrel sequence, to Monty Norman and John Barry's iconic theme music, to the gorgeous Bond girl, to the megalomaniac villain with the odd deformity, and his insane otherworldly villain's lair. When you see this movie, you are seeing history being made. Number 15, You Only Live Twice. James Bond has always taken us to exotic locales, and for the 1960s audience, going to Japan must have been a thrill. And while Sean Connery in his fifth outing appears a little bored and tired, and his conflicts with producers was beginning to show, however, you get beautiful women, a hidden Spectre base inside a volcano, and Donald Pleasance and his brilliant portrayal as Blofeld. A role so good they had to parody it decades later with Dr. Evil. Number 14, License to Kill. Before Daniel Craig returned James Bond to the serious and realistic super spy of Ian Fleming's novels, Timothy Dalton did it first. Dalton's Bond is a serious, no-nonsense killer who goes on a vendetta rampage to take down a South American drug lord. And while it was a flop when it premiered, time has been very kind to this movie, becoming one of the most beloved films in the franchise. Part Fleming novel, part Usagi Yojimbo, this underrated classic is definitely worth another watch. Number 13, Thunderball. When Bond's third film, Goldfinger, became an international phenomenon, their follow-up film had to be bigger and bolder. Enter Thunderball, the first true Hollywood blockbuster of the James Bond franchise. Ian pulled out all stops with flying jetpacks, underwater battles, and a speeding yacht. It was the first James Bond movie to win an Academy Award and remain the highest box office gross when adjusted for inflation for over 50 years. Number 12, Live and Let Die. This film marked the debut of Roger Moore as 007, and what a debut it was. You have Roger Moore, cool and suave as ever, cool villains such as Dr. Kananga, Teehee, Whisper, and Baron Samedi. Add the insanely gorgeous Jane Seymour as Solitaire, and a death-defying crocodile stunt, and you have an instant classic that guaranteed that Roger Moore was here to stay. Number 11, Tomorrow Never Dies. Pierce Brosnan followed up his incredible debut of GoldenEye with this gem. In it, James Bond teams up with a Chinese super spy in order to fight a media baron bent on dominating the world by pitting England against China in order to increase his newspaper sales. Plus, this movie has Michelle Yeoh in it. What else do you need to know? Well, how are you liking my list so far? Do you agree? Now we enter the top 10. So from here on out, we're going to talk about the great Bond films. Number 10, The Living Daylights. After Roger Moore retired from the role, Timothy Dalton took on the reins, bringing both youth, vigor, and a tougher, more serious 007 to the role. And you really believed that his Bond could fight assassins and rogue spies. I was a huge fan of this movie when it came out in 1987 and saw it multiple times in the theater. And at that time, I assumed that Timothy Dalton was here to stay. Oh well, we still have a great film. Number 9, Under Majesty's Secret Service. After Sean Connery left the role after You Only Live Twice, the producers scrambled to find a replacement, and they found Australian model George Lazenby, who had no acting experience. He looked stiff and unrefined, but he brought an explosive energy to the role. And while this film was considered lower-tiered Bond at the time, Time's been very kind to this movie, and it correctly ranks as one of the best Bonds of all time. An example of Eon's early attempts to bring a serious, dark 007 of the Ian Fleming novels and translate it to the big screen. Plus, Diana Rigg absolutely makes you fall in love with her every time you see this movie. Number 8, Octopussy. In 1983, it was Bond vs. Bond, Sean Connery vs. Roger Moore at the box office, and Roger Moore won. And a lot of it was thanks to this wonderful little film. While this film oddly gets a lot of hate today, when it came out in 1983, it was considered a fantastic Bond film, and it still holds up today. You have Roger Moore at his best, you have killer circus clowns, a sophisticated, nefarious Afghani prince, a super strong henchman that can crush dice with his hands, and you have one of the most beautiful Bond girls to date. Following the mega successful For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy solidified Roger Moore as the 007 of our generation. Number 7, GoldenEye. After a decade of waiting, Pierce Brosnan finally got to play the role he was born to play. And boy, did he deliver. From the opening bungee jump, which was done practically and set a world's record, to a tank driven through the streets of St. Petersburg, to the craziest and sexiest femme fatale ever, Pierce Brosnan and his debut film took the aging franchise and fully modernized it and introduced James Bond to an entire new generation and likely saved the franchise from obscurity. And to this day, this remains one of the most fun, most rewatchable 007 films of all time. Number 6, The Spy Who Loved Me. After a fairly good start with Live and Let Die, Roger Moore's second outing as Bond in The Man with the Golden Gun put his career as 007 in danger. He needed a strong third film, and boy, did he deliver. From the opening ski scene jump to the parachute with the Union Jack, to the gorgeous Russian spy named Triple X, to an invincible strongman with metal teeth, to a Lotus car that turns into a submarine, this Bond movie has it all, and for many fans, proved that Roger Moore could be a viable Bond to rival Sean Connery. Number 5, Goldfinger. This third James Bond film turned 007 and the secret agent genre into a super sensation, and it's easy to see why. we get a fast-paced action thriller that is all fun from beginning to end. We get the opening pre-credit action teaser. We get the gorgeous femme fatale with a naughty name. We get the power-hungry villain with an over-the-top flair and his super strong henchman who kills with a bowler hat. And we get one of the tensest torture sequences ever put on film. It's no wonder Goldfinger ranks as one of the greatest movies of all time. Number 4, From Russia with Love. And I love this film, and it used to be in my rotation of movies I would watch over and over again. And while Dr. No introduced James Bond to the world, it was From Russia with Love that turned him into a film franchise. This film takes Bond to exotic foreign locales. Armed with clever spy gadgets, he meets beautiful femme fatales while pursued by a deadly nefarious agent, one who has a knife in her shoe. And, made in 1963, it has a fight scene that, in my opinion, has yet to be beaten in terms of realism. Number 3, Skyfall. Who would have thought that nearly 50 years of Bond and 23 movies later, that director Sam Mendes could make a Bond film that's better than the rest? A beautiful femme fatale in Severine, a scary villain in Silva, and some of the greatest action ever put on film. This film was the origin of the classic Bond as we know him, as well as the new origins of Q, Moneypenny, and M. And as the movie ends, we're filled with excitement at the rebirth of the franchise and its unlimited potential. Too bad it was squandered with the next film, but thankfully we have this film to watch over and over again. Number 2, For Your Eyes Only. Now, I may be a little biased toward this film since it was the movie that turned me, a 12-year-old kid at the time, into a diehard 007 fan. But for me, this is the movie that I think of when I hear James Bond. And the moment he kicks Loth off the cliff was my introduction to Bond and how I think of the character. After blasting off to space in the last film to stop a world conqueror and saving the entire human race, Bond needed a smaller and more grounded film. And here, he simply goes to Greece to stop a heroin smuggler. But this remains one of the best series of the entire 007 franchise. It doesn't get much better than this. Number 1, Casino Royale. When Daniel Craig was announced as Bond, fans objected, calling him ugly and noting his blonde hair. James Blonde, he was called, and I have to admit, I was one of the haters. I wanted more Pierce Brosnan. Well, that all changed when the movie actually came out. From the opening teaser, all in black and white, to the parkour chase in Madagascar, to Bond floating in the casino in his new tux. The villainless Chief is more than a match for Bond, while Vesper Lynd's chemistry with him was off the charts. This movie was more than just a great Bond film and an excellent introduction to Daniel Craig's Bond. It was a 2-hour, out-of-body experience. And this remains, in my opinion, the absolute greatest Bond film to ever exist. Well, that's my list. What do you think? Do you agree? Please let me know your list in the comments below. So I hope you enjoyed this ranking, as well as the entire James Bond series. I have a few special videos coming up next, and then we're going to jump in and finish off the Star Trek The Next Generation series, and I have a whole bunch more videos planned. So that ends this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a great time.